Luca Nation. We haven't done an episode together 48 hours.
Well, we still put out
Thanksgiving.
daily content, but yeah, we wanted to give, I have recorded from a family member's basement or backyard on Thanksgiving previously. And I'm like, all right, you know what? Why don't we just record one extra and we'll put it out there for Thanksgiving. Everybody can enjoy their day and you can do your thing and I can do my thing. So yeah, it's been a day, but what a day to come back, man. I mean, we're recording this right after Mr. Messi. Not Mr. Neat, Mr. Messi, puts his country on his back, staves off elimination, and I mean, just exciting soccer. You got college football. You saw that Michigan-Ohio State game was an impressive game. Lots of money being bet on that one. LeBron is back for the Lakers, and Anthony Davis is playing like a top 10 NBA player. We got NFL tomorrow. We had NFL on Thanksgiving.
You watched movies yesterday. Be honest.
No, I don't. You know what? I don't even know what I did yesterday. No, I watched some soccer yesterday. I did.
You watched soccer? I'm loving the World Cup, guys. I don't know if you guys are like me, but sports during the day is maybe one of my favorite things. Like, I don't love the late night sports where it goes into like 1, 2 a.m. But the World Cup being 8 a.m., 11 a.m., and 2 p.m. Eastern, obviously, it's been a blessing. I've loved it. I've loved every minute of it.
Yeah, I watched that. I mean, we tried to watch that Christmas Story, the new one, the Christmas Story Christmas. I got halfway through, and the kids were like, yeah, no, not going to do this one. We just kind of had a nice, easy, lounge around. I forget what Ian and I watched. We watched something yesterday.
You've been dabbling in the Lego world more than the hobby world recently. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Well, not really. We opened a lot of stuff. We've opened a lot of stuff recently. I bought cards to my family for Thanksgiving, but Leah watched the first Hunger Games movie, so I've watched the second and third one with her. So that's what we did yesterday. I just remember.
Did she have any life philosophy questions, like, Daddy?
No.
What do I do?
She's like, this is a microcosm of the world, isn't it? There's a globalist message, is what she said after this. And I'm like, yes, Leah, 100% there is.
But Leah's 6 years old. So
no,
smart kids.
She's 13. But no, so one of the things that changed, this year was I was able last week. I knew I was going to a cousin's house, and they have 3 boys, and I was able to go on Target and buy cards for them. Not at the price they were previously, but at quote unquote retail price. And I was able to bring them, blasters of Prism and some optic, fat packs basically at Target prices. You could just go on Target and buy them, and they're here and they were delivered, and I got them, it was delivered to me, and I brought them. The kids were able to open some cards, which is an easy way of kind of, expanding.
You couldn't go to Target?
I could have gone to Target, but I didn't have to. I just got them shipped here. I don't actually. So what's funny is the Target by me does not have this stuff in stock. Right, to talk about me has Pokemon, they have Magic, they have Yu-Gi-Oh, they have they have some other sports stuff. They usually have like baseball in stock, but they don't have this stuff. Is not in stock there. At least not the last 3 or 4
They didn't want
times.
to tempt you, Long Islanders.
I mean, I think people buy them.
Packs and
I think people buy them. I think people just buy them. But online,
I don't know if you guys saw, but I was watching the Celtics-Mavs game. Celtics blew out the Mavs, but on the ESPN broadcast, they were talking about PWCC and the Luca logo Mantle, and how Luca thought it was a pretty cool sale. So it's nice when you could hear about things that are happening in the hobby on ESPN.
So just to finish the point, cool. Right, which is good, is kids can actually be in the hobby now, which hasn't been able to do the last couple of Thanksgivings. Yes, I could go to Target. You want to call me lazy, that's fine. You're right. They didn't have it there. That. But the point was I was able to go online and buy cards for kids. And this is something we've been talking about for a while. We've been talking about being able to actually go and buy retail and actually have like money where you're not breaking the bank and something for kids. It doesn't have to be Chronicles. They didn't get anything spectacular in the packs. I mean, nobody broke them or got anything great. But, I think it was $19.99, $29.99 for the blasters, which, it's more than they were. But I was able to, bring some stuff for kids. These kids collect like Funkos and stuff like that. And, I have a wall full of Funkos. I had to tell them about PSA grading Funkos now. And they were all excited about that. But, it's a switch. It's a shift in the hobby. Last year before, I wouldn't have even thought about bringing cards, because I would have had to spend $100 on a pack to bring the kids to open. So it's in that regard, we're in a little.
What's
bit of a
the price
spot.
range that you could gift kids? Is it like $50? Because 100 is too big of a gift for the kids. They don't deserve.
Yeah, I mean, I figure $20, $25. If you have to go to $29.99 for a blaster, just there's 3 kids
what about
there.
Inflation? Inflation.
What about inflation?
I mean, if it's $24.99, now it's got to be at least $40 for kids.
Well, I mean, these things, blasters used to be $19.99, and now they're $29.99.
Okay.
The inflation it definitely has hit. But point being, that was a cool thing. I will say this. I mean, with the holidays here, there's a show going on like right now as we speak in Tarrytown. Like, I don't know, one of the many East Coast nationals that they have. I don't know if they call it that, but another East Coast show. White Plains. I'm not going. I think it's tomorrow also.
But Cage, maybe your best skill set in the hobby. I was, took these 2 days to think about what makes Cage successful.
Oh,
it's not his good looks. It's not his jokes.
Nope.
It's not that he could go on 8 to 10 minute monologues that start as a question and end as a statement.
Correct.
It's his patience.
Gotta have it.
So
Perfect
Cage,
example.
in this time, you might notice he puts out content, but he's a guy that's comfortable sitting on his hands. And that's a lot of weight on his hands too. So think about the comfort level that you need to sit on your hands. And he's able to do that during periods of time like this, to let the dust settle and let the best buys present themselves. For example, a few weeks ago, if you don't mind me sharing, you went right back to the well. You didn't go, hey, look at, Mac Jones was out for a few weeks. His 1 of 1 is on PWCC Weekly. Let me go after it. You went back to the well and you bought a Babe Ruth Gowdy card with like a yellow highlighter border.
Yes.
Talk to us. How are you viewing the market? Like, are you seeing what I just said? Are you seeing things differently?
Well, I mean, listen, if you pulled up the card ladder or whoever other charts you're on, that card is not back to where it was in 2020, but it's lower than where it would have been, last year. So there's a school of thought here that, everything's just going to come right back. Cajun and I in an episode, we talked about like the chart should just kind of slice that big bubble off and then make it a flat line right across the whole deal. And a lot of people got angry at us about that. Or maybe just one person got angry about it. Who knows? It's just a loud one person who gets angry. But I mean, that's a card that I never had. So there are 4 Ruths in the Gowdy set. And I've never owned the yellow one. I think is the most desirable one. It's number 53. It is the first one of his in the set. And I mean, it's a good looking card. I just never owned it. And, I was buying Gowdy Ruths in, 2002. I first started getting money, from practicing law and, had a little extra. And I bought a Gowdy Ruth 4, number 181, the green one, for less than $1,000. I mean, I was 3 figures, probably 900 something bucks. $1,000, we can just round it. And, that card last year was over 20. I don't know what it's at now, 4. But, it's just, I still have it. I show it to people and people think it's fake because the PSA slab looks like you made it. And, like in your basement with a crayon.
5 chart? Should I use
right. So that's another thing, right? So there's no 4.5s, right? Because there's very few 4.5s. But I would use the 4. That's the way I did it. And I obviously there were some 4s that sold for more than this. There were some 4s that sold for a little less than what I've been selling what I've been on the 4.5. You can use the 4, but look at that spike.
So this is the 5. It went from on April 12th of this year was 41,000.
Yeah.
Then a PWCC top percentage, which I think is its own category.
Yep, its own category.
Sold for 84,000 in July 21st. And then a 5 sold October 20th for 32,000. Let me pull up a 4 for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, a 4.5, obviously not as good as a 5. I like to buy 4.5, but yeah, I mean, this is a 4, right? So you got if I would look at this, I would take, the same chart that you looked at the 5, there's the spike and then a back down. Like if I were looking at this chart, like even this one's a little on the high side. But this is, to me, a perfect example. If people are looking at these charts, right? Like this is a 4. This chart still does the whole like a little up kind of thing, right? I mean, there's another little chart. It hasn't gone, like down and then you're hoping for it to go back up. There's just not a lot of these things, I mean, look, there's 14 of these in 4s. They don't pop up every 2 months, every 3 months, right? Or is that a 5? It's 14 of them in a 5.
This is an 8.
Oh, the 8. Geez.
I'm going through all the grades. Well, you have to, I think,
115, right? 115 4s. But look at the chart, right? Like I would take that spike out of it, and there's still a run up. If you look at it over time, to me, listen, this is one where I didn't want to pay $50,000 for it. I didn't want to pay $40,000 for it, right? I didn't want to do that and that's what it was. So you hear people talk about these cards where it's like they ran and I missed it. Well, you're getting another opportunity as they come back down to a price you felt like you missed it at. Now, is it possible that the 4.5 that I just bought for 30 is something that becomes available for 25, for 27, whatever it is going forward? Sure. Could it be 22? Also, sure. But I didn't buy it at the quote-unquote peak, and I feel like this is a card I'm going to hold for a long enough time that if it, in the short term, next couple of months, 6 months, even a year, comes down a little bit, I'm going to be holding it long enough that I'll watch it appreciate slowly over time. That's where I'm putting my money. But I'm a different cat, man. I mean, people want to come into this as a, more of a flip, more of a business, more of a gamble. And there's plenty of stuff out there, right? It's sort of like your red pill, blue pill.
Is that what you're looking for at Weekly?
So Weekly has some fun stuff, man. Weekly has a lot of fun stuff. And I mean, the first thing to talk about is maybe what we'll do is maybe we'll post this for the audience. There's a Mantle. There hasn't been a 52 Mantle in Weekly ever. Because a 52 Mantle
3.5 Beckett.
Well, so there's your question, right? I mean, like, the Premier is supposed to be 25 and above. The Weekly was supposed to be less than that. This card clearly is a 25 and above card. It's a Beckett 3.5, and it's nicely centered, the whole deal. But the question I would ask the audience is, how do you put a BVG? How do you compare it to a PSA or an SGC? When you're talking about this card specifically, right? And this is coming from someone, I'll let you answer, but this is coming from me. I owned a BVG Mantle. I did. Back in 1819. I owned a 4.5.
A few questions come to my mind.
Shoot.
Do I trust Beckett's vintage grading? Could this, if I took this card out and I subbed it to SGC, which has probably the best vintage graders, or I subbed it to PSA, who has the second best vintage graders, in my opinion, would this come back altered? Would this come back trimmed? That would be my immediate first question. If the answer, and I knew definitively it was no, I don't think it would matter, because I think most people do eye appeal when it comes to these cards anyway, as long as I know that they're not altered, not messed with.
Now take it one step further. Since somebody's selling this in a BVG, right? The first thing you thought was, I'm going to go check to see what it's going to be in PSA and Beckett and SGC. Wouldn't you, if you were the consignor of this, do the same thing? And don't you then, as a buyer of this card, and listen, guys, this is a PWCC episode. We're being paid for this. So, take it for what it's worth. If this is the last time we do this, great. But we're here, and we can't be bought. And these are the topics that I would want to talk about if I were, if I were doing this. So here you go. Does it come to you and say, all right, well, it's in a Beckett, it's in a PVG. Does this mean that the person who's consigning it through PWCC already tried to send it to PSA and SGC, and they told them, we're either going to grade this a 1 or altered or just keep it in the Beckett, and they decided, all right, you know what? I already tried this. Because it was the first thing that came to your mind.
Sure. Yeah,
so
but
that
happens. No, because it's the same thing that happens at all the other card levels. Like, it happens in modern, it happens ultra modern, it happens in 90s inserts. Different companies grade different cards differently.
So if you bought this card, would you keep it in the Beckett slab?
I wouldn't buy this card.
And there is where we're getting to.
No, I personally, I've never bought a card like that. So I could, if I bought, 50 Mantles in my life, bought, sold, traded, I knew the Mantle market, then that would be my thing. I would be like, I know this card, I know this market, I've seen this before, etc.
Yeah.
I don't buy that stuff, so I would be a novice.
Let me also lay this one out there. There are CSG ones coming up for auction soon.
Of course.
I wouldn't buy either of those. There's a CSG 8. There's a CSG like 4.5 in the same auction. I wouldn't buy either of those either. Part of the fun about vintage,
but you're risk averse too. You're very cautious.
Really? I would never buy a Beckett altered card and try to swap it out. Oh, I'm very risk averse.
That is risk averse.
Okay. You and I have different definitions of what risk averse is. Well, this one here, this is
what I mean by risk averse
is,
you trust, when it comes to grading, you trust PSA super like to an extreme.
I trust that a PSA slab is going to get the best secondary when you do decide to sell it. Yes. And that also may cost me some money. But yeah, I mean, if you're asking for honesty,
there are PSA graded cards that are altered and trimmed, but because they're in a PSA slab, you trust it more. You trust that brand more when it comes to those.
I don't understand what you're saying. There's a Beckett that's altered or trimmed that in a PSA slab. What does that mean?
There are cards that PSA has graded that are trimmed and altered that have been graded or missed. Like they missed that it was altered or trimmed or whatever, that are PSA slabs.
What card?
I mean, what are you talking about? You know that this happens. Graders miss stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, you're specifically saying that a Beckett card that Beckett said was...
I'm not saying a Beckett card.
Okay, so say your sentence again then. Be artful.
There are cards in PSA holders that other grading companies would deem trimmed or altered because the PSA grader missed it, just like every grader misses stuff. That's your example with this Mickey Mantle card. This might be missed. This might be a trimmed card. This might be an alter card.
But this isn't in a PSA slab. This is in a Beckett slab. Yeah.
But it's brand. Brand is just trust. I trust this brand for grading vintage cards more than I trust this brand.
So I think the overall market would say if this card was in a PSA slab, it's going to sell for more. Mostly because chances are someone's not buying this in a PSA 3.5 and going to Beckett and saying, wow, Beckett, can you guys slab this for me? Whereas vice versa. So I understand what you're saying. Yes, on any given day, any grader could miss something that's trimmed or counterfeit or a problem, sure. But, my take on it is when you see a card for sale, like almost every other card we're going to talk about today in a PSA slab, the first thing you think about is not exactly where you went, which is I'm going to try to get PSA or SGC to tell me what this would grade and make sure it's authentic. So think about that for a second. I didn't feed you. I didn't say that. I said to you, what do you think when you say this? And the first thing you said was, it's in a Beckett slab. I'm going to try to find out what PSA or SGC. Now, we're going to talk about a bunch of PSA cards. I don't think you're going to have the same answer. You're not going to say, oh, wow, that Skybox EX 2000 credentials, Michael Jordan out of $499. Or that the Kobe we're going to talk about, or the Giannis that's in a PSA 10.
Because
let me go check out, make sure that Beckett.
Beckett's not known for grading vintage. That's why.
Oh, but even the modern stuff. I mean, even the modern, like there's a LaMelo Ball PSA 9. You're gonna buy that, and the first thing you think of is let me go see what SGC says about that, or what Beckett's going to say about that. No.
Yeah.
You're going to see.
I'll buy a Jordan Soul of the Game PSA 6 and send it to Beckett
because I knew that could. Yeah, not a 9. A PSA 9?
I'm going to buy a PSA 9 Soul of the Game Jordan because I'm going to crack it and send it to BGS to get a 9.5.
Well, now I know why you're losing money.
No, I'm not. Not on that move.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see. You're a cracker.
You're trading on your arbitrage. You're trading on brand. Beckett's not known to grade vintage well.
For me, I love.
You just don't trust it.
I don't trust it, and obviously neither do you, because I didn't say anything. The first thing you said was, "I'm going to go see what PSA and SGC says." So you don't trust it either.
Okay.
All right, so that's good. So we're back to the point, which is instead of being so argued,
we're 8 minutes in.
No, our audience doesn't know the point. You made the point for me. The point is very clear. This is in a BVG, and the first thing that even you who knows nothing, who literally does not know anything about cards, right? Who is basically feeling around in the dark, cracking slabs for no reason, buying here and selling there, hoping to make some money, basically on a wing and a prayer. Even you, the first thing you said was, if it's in a BVG, I'm going to go check what PSA and SGC has to say. That's
what's the bid at right now?
That's my point.
What's the
$30-something thousand?
So obviously, it doesn't matter what I think. There's obviously demand for this card.
Yeah, I think the demand for the card is to do exactly what you said. I think it's a 38 plus BP. It's a nice looking card. It's a nice looking card. It's nicely
centered.
I will say that. It's a nice looking card.
You're just a PSA stiff.
That's not the truth, man. I mean, and to do that, it poo-poos the entire thing. And I'm going to let you go ahead and run with it and tell me what cards you like. But I will say this. So what I've noticed on BVG cards, and just to add some stuff that Andrew could never add because he's just useless, it's the surface. The surface is the problem. And BVG will give higher grades to cards that have surface problems. I had a BVG Mantle also. It was 4.5, and the surface was basically cleaned. It was like bleached. You remember the card. And if you look at this one here, while the centering is nice, you can see surface issues with the card. You can see that the card is It's not what you would want to see on a Mantle. Mantle colors pop. That blue is really important and impressive. And this one here, you can kind of see just like what looks like snow. Like it's just whiting around both sides of his face. And while it's a nice card, I think when Beckett grades these things, they don't take enough off for those surface issues that are on the card. And listen, it's a nice card. If you want to get into a Mantle, a 3.5 with this kind of centering in either SGC or in PSA would sell for significantly more than this. So back to the points on this one, it is a really, it's a nice way to get in to a Mantle at a lower cost than a 3.5 in either of the other grading companies would get you. But that's my thought on this one. And it's a huge noteworthy thing because you just don't see cards like this in the weekly auction that often. It's just not my cup of tea. I love the Mantle 52. I was looking at another one. A PSA 2 sold recently in the Premier auction and sold for I think it was like 50 plus buyers premium. Maybe it was like $60,000. And that was a 2. My bet is that 2 in PSA sells for more than what this one finally sells for. It clearly is going to be close, but that should tell you, even if this one gets around that same, that was a centered copy also, that should just tell you the difference between, a Beckett slabbed card like this and a PSA or an SGC version. But shoot, you're up.
Respect. Absolutely respect. Come back off mute. That was pretty cool.
Dude, it's not always about me and you. It's not always about me versus you on these things. It's about honesty and education for folks. And you do bring a fun, crack and slab and arbitrage between the companies. I would be very concerned about buying a Mantle and a BBG. And that's me. I'm giving my own story. This card is probably fine. I'm sure PWCC looked at it. They might have even had conversations with Beckett about the card, maybe even SGC. Who the heck knows? But I have previously owned a Beckett Mantle that turned out to be problematic. So I'm, it's like once bitten, twice shy kind of thing. So
before
to
I
me,
get into my cards, because I do have, I have soccer, and then I have one Luka card I want to talk about. Do you think it is on the auction house when it comes to these cards, which are just basically, can we call it what it is? That's art, right? That's an art. That's a piece of art. That it's on the auction house and the grading company to give the buyers as much information as possible? Or is it on just the grading company?
Definitely. Well, I mean, listen, it's a nice card, right? And for someone who wants to get in a centered Mantle, this may be the best opportunity for it. You know what I mean? And we've seen it ourselves. There are cards we've handled that, are slightly short, that one grading company will grade and one grading company will not. And, we've seen it ourselves, right? So, the point you're making is 100% right. It's a different point than what I'm making, which is there's a reason why a 3.5 of this is in the 30s/40s instead of in the 60s/80s. You know what I mean?
Think about it, guys. There's, we talk about all the people that have left the hobby. We don't talk about the survivors who came in 2019, 2018. They got in before the run-up and are sitting on $500,000 in cards. And they might be buying this card or looking at this card. And what Kate just did the last 10 minutes, a crash course of like Vintage 101, understanding the Mantle 52 is important, right? Because you've learned through your mistakes.
Yeah.
And you might be saving people time, heartache, worry, stress by sharing your experience. I see nothing wrong with that.
I paid 18 for a BVG 4.5 back in the day.
In the 60s? Okay, can we move on? Because I'm bored of history.
Sure.
Can we move on to modern?
Yes. How about this? 2017 Panini Instant Premier Next Day Patrick Mahomes Rookie Auto PSA 10. Talk about that one.
Oh, you want me to talk about that card? So that card's confusing, right? So that card actually doesn't have like a number grade. That card is given to players to sign the day after being drafted. Is that right?
Correct. That's right. Right.
I love really nice that card. I think that's the coolest thing. Like if I'm a collector and I have unlimited money, that's the card I want. That's the card. As soon as this guy turned pro, he signed it. And if I'm able to get a PSA 10, which is crazy because it's not packed bullet, he's throwing these cards around.
Are you buying this? Are you bidding on this?
Just pump the brakes and take a breather.
What's
interesting about this card is there's a few different versions of this card. There's a few different even autos of it, like some are with thicker pens, some are with thinner. So I went into the Patrick Mahomes group. Our friend Jay runs it, does a good job. And someone actually posted a similar card. Mm-hmm. And I was learning about it. And yes, I think this is the card that collectors are going to want. I guarantee you, I'm not going to guarantee. A guarantee Patrick Mahomes owns one of these himself. Because here's why. We know Patty is a huge collector. Cage is, we know Patty's a huge collector. This is the first card he gets after getting drafted. He's signing 100 of these. You don't think he keeps a few? You don't think
his
he
first
gives a few?
professional autograph. Let's make sure everybody understands that, right?
My excitement's popping through. You know how much I love Patty too.
But I mean, some would say these are not nearly popular enough for what they are historically. Significance-wise for Mahomes, pop 6 in a PSA 10 on this specific one, and it is, as Andrew was explaining, the first auto for him. Something like that does matter, right? It is limited quantity, rookie auto, and when you start to talk about like the creative pricing and the storytelling of items. When you don't have game use stuff from Mahomes and you have some autos, where do you rank the autos? Do you want this or do you want the RPA? An RPA that doesn't actually have a game used patch in it? Do you want a flawless that doesn't have a game used patch in it? Or do you want this auto that was signed before those? It's his rookie auto. Does that matter?
It was the first time in my card career that I actually felt that I didn't need to choose. Like if I'm not buying this just because I don't want to get the NT. I'm buying this because I just think this is super cool. And that was the first time I've really experienced that, because most of the other cards I bought, like, it's a cool card, but I know I want to sell this at some point. Versus this one felt a little bit different. So that's how I approached it. That's how I viewed it. And I think the fact that it doesn't have maybe some of the demand, I think the last sale was right in the 9,000, is actually a benefit versus like something that, because there's cards of his that have sold for more than $9,000 that I would not trade for this. So that's my thoughts. I have a question for you.
Shoot.
So, you remember Panini Threads, that release?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So there is a Pop 2, and I've watched this card all week. Luka Doncic Gold, PSA 10.
The jersey.
Yes, but this is the premium version. So I've researched this card all week. I'll give you guys some info. So this is the premium Threads. It has the beautiful rookie stamp, gold kind of shimmer on the sides. It's a Pop 2 PSA 10. I'll pull it up in a second. This card has never sold as far as I know. I looked at Card Ladder. I looked everywhere. I have not seen a single PSA 10 or even a premium gold sell on like the market. But there was a regular Panini Threads Gold Dazzle, also out of 10, that sold the beginning of this year. It was a BGS 9.5. It sold for $3,800. I'll pull up the card in a second. Thoughts? This is the same thing. You're like, this is not something that people collect. This is not something people look for. But this card got bid up to $10K today, Cage. Or not today. On Thursday or Friday. I've been watching this card all week. It was at 2,000, and then almost in the blink of an eye, it got shot up to 10,000 and hasn't moved since.
It's a really cool looking card too. It's just I worry about this where it is are you trying to make something happen? $10,000, you're starting to get it's out of 10. There's not a lot of them, but is there going to be as much demand for this as there is for, let's say, his Prism Blue, which it's now in that low 5-figure range that one just sold for? You know what I mean? Like, is it going to get close enough to that? So, I mean, it's a cool card. There's obviously not that many of them out there. If you're a huge Luka collector, this is a huge one. It's out of 10. You think about how much a Prism Gold out of 10 or one of the other golds out of 10 would be, and then you look at that, it's a fraction of the price. I guess that's a different way of looking at it. Not for me.
Not for you. All right, let me go through some of the soccer guys, and then we'll wrap up with your cards. So
let me ask you something, because you said Threads.
Ask you some soccer. Okay, go ahead.
So before we go to soccer, there is a Mahomes card that is ending. It's Patrick Mahomes. I think there's 2 of them. I don't know if it's this one. 2017 Donruss Optic Threads. Because I'm sticking with the Threads. It's a rookie patch PSA 9 mint. So you can put Mahomes in. It's $110. I just searched for the word Threads, and this is what happens. You go down rabbit holes now with with this stuff. There's actually a PSA 9 and a BGS 9.5. They're both in the auction. They're both ending. And what's funny is the PSA 9 is currently $5 more than the BGS 9.5.
I see that.
It's kind of the way it works. So this card, if you look at the back of it, it just says the enclosed player-worn material guaranteed. So is that what you get with Mahomes? It's just player-worn. It's just he put it on. It's not game-worn. That's it.
That's all you get with Mahomes, yeah. People, the Mahomes
crazy.
community is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They don't love lower-end Mahomes stuff. Like this kind of stuff that would work like for the Garlands of the world, the Mahomes buyers don't buy it. It just stays at the same price. No one wants it, but people want the cream of the crop when it comes to Mahomes. Really fun to watch.
The really high end, but not
like the rookies hollow, those kinds of cards, like the $100 to $500 range.
Mm-hmm.
Not sought after.
All right, that's easy enough. There you go.
Ask me some World Cup questions. I have players. I'm ready, but ask me some questions from this.
Well, I mean, the only soccer card that I looked at, of course, is a Pele, right?
So that's boring.
But
why are you so old? You're 45. Buy Pulisic. Buy
Tyler Adams. A whiny baby. Oh my God, because he's horrid. Tyler Adams is a New Yorker. There's a lot of New Yorkers on this team. Weah is from Brooklyn. I think Tyler Adams is from Wappingers Falls. I think there's a lot of New Yorkers in there. I should root for them all. I can't root for somebody who's such a whiner. He's just a whiner. It's like he's always complaining.
I think Iran is going to be a tough test for the Americans.
So you're buying Pulisic and they could lose. I mean, they are a plus 105. It's basically a coin flip. You know that, right? Against Iran.
It's tough for a young team, which played a really emotional game. That was a big game. Like every player showed up for that game and brought 100% energy to then go against an experienced Iran team who is underrated. They're a good team. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a challenge. But I will say this. If I was buying one player from the U.S. team, it would be Pulisic. And there are 38 different cards of Pulisic in this weekly auction that I would take a look at. There's some high-end stuff like gold. And I think not a color blast, but the other kind of case hit of it. I can't remember, but you guys could look it up in a PSA 10. I would look at Pulisic, but then on the other hand, there's one Tyler Adams autographed card. It's $20 right now. One Tyler Adams card in this whole weekly auction. I love how Tyler Adams plays. Cage is right, from New York.
Mm-hmm.
One card, $20. Let me keep going. Musiala. By the time you guys are listening to this, Spain has played Germany. So Spain is playing Germany tomorrow, Sunday at 2 p.m. Really interesting game. You have two huge Pedri cards in this auction and one huge Musiala card. It's a Topps Inception. Not huge, but it's a card I liked. Take a look at Vinny. So I said this in our group. Brian wanted to rip my head off, but that's his vibe. He likes to do that kind of stuff. I said Neymar is going to be addition by subtraction. So this Brazil team is as deep as they get. And I think that Neymar, someone who's an amazing individual talent, but doesn't score enough goals to justify, in my opinion, how much he dribbles with the ball and how much, you saw the stat Cage. He got fouled, I think, 10 times. Well, He's on the ball and he's keeping it under his feet and he's running with it. That's what's going to happen. I think this Brazil team's actually going to be better without him for the next few games. And take a look at Vinny. So Vinny has an orange optic PSA 10 for auction. It's at $470 right now. You have a BGS SGC 95 hollow of that same rookie card. That's at $20. So just take a look at that. And finally, who I think, and I said this a few days ago, when it came to France, losing Benzema to injury, losing Pogba to injury, it will free up more touches, more opportunities for who? Mbappe. Take a look at Mbappe in this auction. There's a gorgeous light blue laser PSA 10. That's a quick soccer recap.
I like that. So do you think with Neymar going down, Brazil is actually a better team with him down?
I think they're going to come together and actually play team football. I think they need Neymar to win the World Cup. I think winning in group stages. Remember how we talked about these teams haven't had a chance to mesh?
Mm-hmm.
Neymar hinders that. And without Neymar, I think they'll play more complete football. I want to add one more thing about Mbappe. Mbappe is this rare opportunity that you don't get a lot of in cards where you have three really positive things that could happen. So I'll maybe even four. So he's going to beat Pele, most goals under 24 years old. He might be the highest goal scorer of this tournament. They may win another World Cup, and he's moving to Real Madrid. So you have these four huge milestones that are kind of coming up back to back to back. And I would say with each game, you know how we do probabilities? Those probabilities are becoming more and more likely of actually happening. I think he will be highest goal scorer in this World Cup. I think France with Mbappe is the most athletic player in this World Cup. There's no one that could keep him in front of him right now. So you have highest goal scorer. France could win the World Cup, and then he's going to go to Madrid. That's huge. Those are 3 huge milestones for Mbappe cards if you're looking to get in now.
Is there a fake Madrid team? I mean, why don't they just call him Madrid?
Oh, thank God, man.
I mean, if they just
this is a sick book. So this is called Fear and Loathing in La Liga by Sid Lowe. This is about Madrid and Barca. And
I pronounce Barca. I mean, I don't know why you get that wrong.
How the Clásico is, it's political for these guys because it's Catalonia and Spain, you know, the rich versus, it's a whole thing. Really cool book. Fear and Loathing.
Real Madrid. Listen, so some fun stuff. Let's rattle them off. All right. This one goes in the You're Modern because this is what you add to the show. You know all about Modern and I don't. There is a 2020 Panini Flawless Vertical LaMelo Ball RPA out of 25 in a PSA 9. Right. Prices on LaMelo haven't been lower than they are right now. His stuff ran. He was injured to start the season, so he was kind of forgotten about. And he's back, and, you know, the Hornets won the game yesterday. You know, the Hornets, you know, they're a decent enough team in a wide open East. This card has a sick patch. Like, if you were looking for a cool patch on a card, it's a hard side auto. It's a PSA 9. I don't know if the auto's a 10. It doesn't have an auto grade, but it's a, you know, this is flawless. It's a vertical, right? If this was a Luka, imagine who the hell knows how much this would be. And LaMelo is like, you know, the 2 years later Luka. Take a look at this patch. This patch is sick.
You want me to pull it up?
If you want to just, I mean, because I know you look at a lot of patch cards, so I know you will probably weigh in on it. But this one is
weigh in on it right off the bat.
Yeah, sure.
I only, unless it's just an amazing deal, I only buy game worn patches. Okay. I don't understand non-game worn unless it's just an amazing deal.
All right. Well, I mean, and that's part of why we talk about this card, right? I mean, are there too many versions of the flawless vertical patch? This is out of 25. Is there an out of 20, out of 10, out of 6, out of 8, out of jersey number, whatever the hell it is? Like, are there too many of these to go after? This is 3-color multi-directional. Like, look at this patch. Like, that's a really cool looking patch. Cool hand sign.
Did you just make up a new term to describe cards? You guys could steal that with eBay pages. Multi-directional patch. I love it.
So go to the description, scroll about 2/3 of the way down, and read it.
Dude, no one reads these.
Multi-directional. Oh my goodness! I guess I didn't make it up. You learn something new every day.
I was gonna give you the credit, but no, PWCC, amazing descriptions.
There you go. 3-color multi-directional.
The choo-choo train one was the best, though.
The choo-choo train one was ridiculous. But anyway, guys, I mean, listen, this is what you want in a card, right? It's the flawless. It's out of 25. It's a really cool looking patch. It's LaMelo, and it is. I mean, you know, if this card was 10 times this, I wouldn't be blinking. But it's only sitting at $1,800, just because I don't really understand the way the modern stuff works. But clearly, this is one of those interesting ones.
It is game worn. It is game worn. I'll say if there's a team like small market, Charlotte doesn't get a lot of love. What's tough is that team has been directionless all year, right? So it is actually an interesting opportunity to buy LaMelo. You had the whole thing with Bridges. Now Hayward goes out. LaMelo twists his ankle twice. So it's just like a lot of uncertainty. When there's uncertainty in the market, typically what we called in crypto land paper hands start selling. So that is a gorgeous card. That's an amazing item.
The next two on my list are both from the EX 2000 credentials. One from 96, one from 97. 96 is basketball. It's Jordan. It's out of $4.99. It's just the credentials, not the essential credentials. It's been a BGS 9 mint. White Bulls jersey on the white border is a cool, makes the red 23 kind of pop on the card, like a really nice looking one for Jordan collectors in BGS 9. And then you have, you know, what has been a trend here recently, seeing the football stuff in popular basketball inserts kind of transfer over for those collectible players. We've seen it with Jerry Rice stuff. You know, you saw the PMG green Rice sell for a ton. Barry Sanders PMG with the lion on it, you know, sell for a lot of money in the last premiere. There is an EX 2000 Essential Credentials Barry Sanders out of 100 in BGS 9.5. BGS Pop 1. If it's not Rice, it's Sanders, right? I mean, people love quarterbacks. People love, you know, what's amazing from the 90s, I mean, obviously Manning is sort of a little in the 90s, but he doesn't fall in the same category as Sanders and Rice and Emmitt Smith and those guys. Manning's kind of like a more current kind of guy. But Sanders is second to Rice in collectability. I got to tell you, I'm a little concerned about some of these things that pop up, these rubies and these PMGs and these EX, for the football ones, only because, the Wharf does a great job of putting them in a story and, whooping people up, and then it becomes, fun. And then all of a sudden, you see another one come out a week or two later and it doesn't sell for anywhere near the same price. So
it doesn't have as robust a collector base as basketball typically does for those types of cards. Is that right?
Correct. So that's why, when I said in the beginning was let's start with the basketball, and then you see this is something that is popular with basketball, but has not had the same type of, collector frenzy in
track record.
Yet. Yeah, correct. The track record.
And to be fair, I think what we're realizing here is not everyone, but there are different collector styles, right? Yep. You're not typically someone who's going to invest in cards that don't have a track record. No. You love track records. The longer the track record, the less storytelling you have to do.
Yeah. And the more safe I feel about the investment because it has a track record.
You're risk averse. Gotcha, bitch. Lawyered. See, I'm practicing law too.
So sticking with basketball, a fun card that Andrew and I both like, the 2013 Panini Prism Green Prism Giannis rookie in PSA 10. One of the few times you feel comfortable buying a green is when it's with the Celtics or the Bucks. This one here it becomes a color match, even though it is a retail one. And the green one, listen, if you can't get a gold or an RPA, right?
Card. At the Dallas show, it was a card a lot of people were looking for. There was a few people that had it. They weren't willing to part with them. The last BGS 9.5 sold for, I think, $7,000. The last BGS 10 sold for about $17,000. I'm interested. This is a card I've been watching all week. I love this card. I love the color match. I would love to get it in a new PSA slab. It's a card I'm watching for sure.
All right, what do you got? Because I have a couple more, but I'm popcorning it over unless you want me to just keep running.
Let's play Which Would You Buy?
You did the soccer stuff already, which was good.
Which would you buy? So we have 3 1980 Topps Larry Bird, Magic, Irving cards, 3 of them. Mm-hmm. So you have a Superior PWCC S, top 5% in a PSA 6. Mm-hmm. You have a PSA 8, freshly graded, 63 serial number. And then you have a PWCC E, which is, I think, top 15% in a BVG 8.5. Have you looked at these?
No.
I would urge Luca Nation to take a look at these. This is fascinating. And maybe comment, which one of these would you buy? I think everyone actually offers value. These have been on my watch list all week. Let us know. Which one would you get?
I mean, these are nice cards. The problem I have with them is once you get down below a 9 on these, there's so many. Even the 9, there's 600 and something of them at a 9 to carry the the value that these are cool cards, they're iconic cards. Honestly, if you tell me I have to buy one of the 3, I'd probably buy that 6 because it looks as nice as the 8, and it's like a quarter of the price.
But it's cut uneven.
Yeah, people don't like that uneven cut. I know. I'm with you.
Everywhere else it's super sharp, but it's that uneven cut that the 1980
people don't like that. The little diamond cut. How about a Kobe for you? Not the 03 exquisites, but a really nice looking 04 exquisite enshrinements. Purple Kobe Bryant auto it's out of 25. It's his jersey number 24. So it's number 24.
No, it's not.
It's not his jersey number.
We need to stop doing this. You can't just do that.
Why?
It was his jersey later in his career. In that card, he's wearing number 8.
Okay.
He's wearing number 8. We can't do that. That's not fair.
What year did he switch over?
I think 2006.
So it's not his jersey number. So the number 24 is irrelevant, guys. Do not pay a premium. You got the Andrew.
Well, there is actually a jersey number Kobe in that, but it's a pet peeve. Am I allowed to have pet peeves?
Of course,
collecting.
Of course you are. You have the microphone.
There is actually, it's a 97, 98 Flair Kobe 8 out of 150. It's in this auction as well. And actually, one of the guys I know from Instagram bought it a few months ago, and I guess he's trimming his collection down. So you're seeing it on the market again. This was a card the first time it came around. I was looking at it. And I know a few other people are looking at it. So it's an interesting card. That's a true jersey number. 8 out of 150.
There you go. The 24 would not carry a premium at all.
Well, you tell me. Is that his jersey number, Cage?
I mean, it's got 2 jersey numbers.
In that photo, what is he wearing?
He's wearing 8. He didn't switch to the 06-07 season. He wore each jersey number for a decade.
Did you Googled it? 06-07?
No, it's actually in the description of this card.
PWCC,
where they do a whole thing.
Don't even buy cards. Just read descriptions. You'll be dangerous.
I mean, this is the deal. 8 and 24. Or buy cards, but don't buy cards that are things you shouldn't buy. Buy cards that you should buy, and then you'd be really dangerous.
What cards should people buy, Cage?
Oh, a lot of the ones we've talked about here in today's show. You want to know a good one to buy? There's a really nice Jordan rookie in this, in PSA 9, but it's the PWCC A. I would venture to say this card might even be nicer than half the 10s that I've seen. Yeah.
Is it flashed in?
So you could take a look at this one. It is the 86 Fleer PSA 9 with an eye appeal A. It is not flashed in. What's funny about it is the centering shift slight you can see in the back. It's not really there in the front, but if you look at the back side of the card, you can see a top to bottom shift. You can see a left to right shift. On the front of the card, the centering looks gorgeous. Top to bottom, slightly. I would say probably 54 to 46 or something like that, top to bottom on it. But it is a PSA 9. The 9s have come down on this, and now you can get one of the nicer looking 9s for, this is just a really nice version of the card. You don't really see too much in the way of white. I know you like to look at these cards to look for white around the edges and that kind of stuff. Good photo registration on this. Like I said, if you look at the back, you can kind of see where there's a little bit of the off-centering on it. It's usually easier to tell. But PSA, is usually a little generous on the back, especially with their grading standards. But it's a nice card.
Luca Nation. I don't know. I think you guys got your money worth today. You got a little bit of Skip and Shannon there within the beginning, talking about BVG. Then you got some value, got a little soccer talk. Anything else, Cage? Will you be on tomorrow for Whatnot?
Yeah, 11 o'clock. It'll be a quicker show because we didn't, obviously we've got a bunch of games already played. I was at my cousin's house, and, it's funny. He was on the Giants getting 10. And when the Giants jumped out to a lead, we were able to get to live betting that the Cowboys have to win by 6. And I'm like, bet it. I said, bet the same amount. And then you are guaranteed that you can't lose money. But if it falls between 6 and 10, you win both bets. And it did. So that was nice.
Some big brains on Brad.
That was really nice. So, and then he's like, what should I do? Should I let it ride? I go, yeah, take the entire thing. Justin Jefferson had an off week last week. His over-under is 84 on the yards. Bet the over on the yards. I bet it comes in the first half. And he had 95 in the first half. And he's like, oh, my God, this is the greatest. Yeah, we're doing fun stuff. Fun Thanksgiving.
All right. Well, so give people the lock for tomorrow.
No, you have to tune in on Whatnot at 11 o'clock a.m. I'm going to a Broadway show tomorrow, so, got to get out nice and easy. I'm going to see Beetlejuice on Broadway, so that'll be fun.
A few seconds ago, we could have cut that. That would have been perfect. Follow us on Whatnot, but now he's going to.
So we'll go back into
see Beetlejuice.
Follow
us
go
see what? Beetlejuice.
I believe the human interest in our show is part of why people tune in. They want to see the personal growth in you. They want to see, where.
I think most people think I'm unraveling in front of their eyes.
I think most people do. I think almost all of them do. I think most of them, and they like watching
Frank the Tank. Frank the Tank. Thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo My. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So, as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that, and it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their
Secondary market values are going up day after day after day, and that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is. 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com. or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.